No problem.
It's been chaos over here. I love your hair, by the way. It's
Thank
beautiful.
you. I need to re-dye it, but I wasn't
I like the
expecting.
mint green.
Yeah. Yeah, no, tech gremlins nightmarish at the moment. The
Oh,
second,
jeez.
yeah, the second John said go on Skype, I was like, okay, and then my computer decided it needed to update itself. Of course.
No worries. Everybody, the last two interviews have just been a nightmare. After a minute and 30 seconds, they completely just dropped.
Oh wow.
Yeah, it was fun. So,
And
it's
it's
been
getting dark. Where
insanity.
are you in Canada at the moment?
Yeah, it's almost 10 p.m. at night here right now.
Oh Lord, late
Yeah.
blood for you. So how long have you
Ah.
been back in Canada? Because you were just over in the UK and Europe, weren't you?
Yeah, I was there for a weekend. We played Hellfest, and then we did, oh gosh, I'm so tired. Grass Pops in Belgium. So I'm back in Canada right now. The guys kind of threw me back here, and I'm just kind of waiting right now to leave and go to Germany next week to play Rock Hard. So I'm pretty stoked about that. But I'm all lonely in Canada. I'll hear about my lonesome.
It must be tricky, yeah, like trying to coordinate band practice and what have you. I mean, yeah, I guess you have to regularly go back to the UK, or
Yeah, they when we need a rehearsal, they fly us in like a day early, and we all meet up, and then we go ahead and we rehearse then, and that's kind of how we do it because we practice on our own means, and I mean we're at the point where we're we try to be professional enough that um we're practicing at our own time to the recordings, which they sound exactly the same live, but it's just nice to be all in the same room and jamming together. So you have, instead of having a first guest on stage, you have it in the jam space instead.
yeah, leave all the room for the fuck ups for the before the gig.
Exactly, get them out of the system.
Yeah. Oh, it's cool. And I spoke to Danny yesterday, and he was saying you guys spent like a month hiding out in somewhere in the depths of the UK with the recording session for Hammer of Witches.
Yeah, each of the members came and they visited on their own right. They did their own time. I'd say I believe our drummer Martin did his in a week or two before Christmas, and then everyone kind of came after and after, and it was beautiful. I think Danny was saying somewhere in the area where I stayed at this beautiful little cottage resort area, but apparently Johnny Depp had owned a mansion somewhere nearby, but nobody really knows where it is or what it is.
Yeah.
So it was gorgeous. It was a nice little retreat for me, even though I was extremely jet lagged. And yeah, they put me to work that week, and it was good. It was a good creative energy. Like our producer Scott Atkins, he knew how to get the best out of us, even if he drove us absolutely insane and made me do the same take like 20 times until I got angry. And then once I was angry, he's like, "Yes, we have the take we want." So
Excellent.
that was how it was.
Yeah, and you just did keyboard and vocals on this album?
Yeah, I did write some of the keyboard, but at the end of it, to make things easier and coherent, our drummer Martin Skrupka, he's also a keyboardist as well, so he took anything that I had written or my ideas, and he had played them. I'd say I contributed about a very small percent to the album, keyboard writing wise, because he already had a vision and he had written a lot of the keyboard beforehand, so that was understandable. I did get to add some harp, which was really cool, and then you can hear me overlaying the choirs. I did the lead parts for the choirs. I did the solo opera takes. I did all the speeches. Any female vocals you hear on the album is essentially me.
That's awesome. Yeah. You know, so you have a classical music training, I assume. You seem multi-talented with the harp, the keyboard,
yeah.
piano, obviously, vocals.
Yeah. I did 8 years of classical voice training, and I did other genres on the side. I wanted to learn about musical theater and jazz and pop and rock, and but I always stuck to opera as kind of my main, because if you can sing classical, you can sing anything. And then through my training, me and my coach found out I'm a freak of nature. I'm a coloratura, so I have this 4-octave range to work with, which is really nice, and it gave Cradle of Filth something to work with and a lot of variety. I don't think I'd like the colorateurs who are so well seasoned and out there doing opera. My quote is "fake it till you make it." So I don't claim to be this fantastic coloratura type, but I was very lucky to be able to kind of do everything that the guys asked me to do on the album, and I'm very proud of that. I mean, I've worked so long with the classical training. As for harp, I'm just teaching myself until I have the time and the money to actually get proper lessons. But I did do quite a bit of piano training in the beginning, classical, and it was very boring. It was good for you. It made you a great musician, but it was also, I love playing my own music, like my solo work, and I do enjoy some of Cradle of Filth stuff, so when you have to play all those classical pieces, just bashing your head against the wall, playing them over and over again, getting them perfect, hoping you pass your exam.
Yeah. That's like any kind of route learning thing, I suppose.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I obviously I did some research before, and and it wasn't unexpected, but some of the comments about you as a woman, I mean, they can get pretty misogynistic and nasty. It's almost like you're held to a much higher standard than anyone else in the band. And I mean, do you come across that in person, or are people just keyboard warriors?
I think they're just a bunch of trolls. I've had some awful things said about me, and it's like, you don't even know me. Like today, I posted my most recent photo shoot where I did something in a very lighter aspect. I did. Oh, thank you. I was like a white dress and the flowers in my hair, and this girl who doesn't even know me, who I've never met in my life, who didn't have like a professional positive criticism, came on and said I looked like a drunken bar wench, and it was very rude. And I mean, everyone is open to their own opinion. Everyone has the right to criticize art, because I'm put out there. And something that happened actually when Right Wing of the Garden Triptych was brought out was I felt terrible, and I believe that Cradle of Filth is a band, and everyone's like, oh, I love Lindsay's vocals. I love Lindsay's vocals. I'm like, what about Ashok's guitar solo? What about Martin's drum? I was like, what about everyone else in the band? And it's hard with being the woman. Yeah, you are put in this place, and people will say derogatory things, and they'll say mean things. But I also have a lot of positive stuff coming in. But I kind of feel bad for the guys sometimes, because I felt when the single came out, they were a little shadowed, and I didn't like it, because I just feel we're a band. But I understand being a woman in rock and metal, it's a rarity, and you are going to be put in the spotlight a little more. And Danny understands that, and Danny's never held that against me. He's like, you're the first girl to come in the band since Sarah, who's been really passionate about it and really wanted to add something to this band. So you are going to be put out there. But at the end of the day, the only opinion that matters is my own, and I have my close friends and family, and they think the world of me. So if some troll's going to come along and say something shallow and rude, I'm not going to let it ruin my day.
Yeah, well, that's definitely the attitude to have. It's just a bit, I mean, it's a bit depressing. You sort of come across this all the time, being even, just, for example, reviewing band gigs, people come up with the weirdest shit that I don't understand metal because I'm a woman. It's like, so I was, I wasn't surprised to see some of the horrible comments, but I mean, it's got to get you down occasionally. But it seems like you've got a really good attitude to deal with it, which is what's needed. Thick skin, I guess.
Yeah, it's part of the thick skin, and I never try to let my gender affect me. By the way, I apologize. My cat might start howling. I have a howling cat, so if you hear a howling cat, that's my cat.
It could be mine as well.
But I just thought I'd interject because he was ready to howl at the moon. Yeah. I was actually well trained for it, because I used to be part of a club that disbanded called Eve's Apple, and it was a bunch of women in metal who banded together. We wrote articles, we did charity work, and they really prepared me for the worst of it before Cradle of Filth picked me up. And yeah, you have to have a tough skin, but it's especially being an animal rights activist, I like to take pages from feminism. I feel like there's a lot of people are confused by feminism because there's feminists out there who ruin feminism. They ruin feminism for the feminists. It's not that women are better than men, it's that we're equal. And it can be tough being a woman, but I don't like to play that card. I feel being a woman in a rare spot, it's empowering and it's inspiring. Like all my idols are to me who are women who don't fit in, who have found their own place and been trailblazers. So I don't really let it let me down. I mean, there's been some people are just going to talk. They're always going to talk, but I always go to the core of it, and I think it's just a reflection of themselves. They're either ignorant, they're not educated, or they're miserable with their own life, and they're just projecting that hate onto you. And I don't let it bother me. And at the end of the day, I've had some pretty serious haters, and I'm like, well, if I didn't have haters, I'd be doing something wrong. So they're reassurance that I'm doing something right.
Exactly. So you mentioned, I mean, obviously you're vegan. How long have you been vegan for?
It's been actually since I joined Cradle of Filth. I made the decision the same month, 2.5 years. It's been a long journey. I didn't realize I was doing veganism wrong until about a year and a half in. I didn't know about all the extra microorganisms that you need in your body, like you need proper bacteria in your body and a lot of greens. And I just, I felt great. Granted, you always feel great when you first go vegan, but keeping it up and making sure your body's getting everything that it needs. It's a challenge, but I mostly did it for animal ethics and for spiritual based reasons. Being a First Nation Native American in the tribe I come from, we started the whole spirituality of totems and animal spirit guides. So it's like, why would I be eating my fellow neighbor? Like, it doesn't make sense to me. I think it's such a hypocritical society where everyone loves cats and dogs. And don't eat meat at the Yulin Dog Festival in China while I'm eating my steak.
Yeah.
It's like, so you love dogs and cats, but you don't love cows, pigs, and chickens.
And pigs are so intelligent as well. I mean, I had to leave Facebook for a couple of days after that, the dog meat festival. I was just like, oh my, you're stupid. I mean,
are you vegetarian or vegan yourself?
I've been vegetarian for 22 years.
Good for you.
I was vegan for 7 years. Cheese broke me.
Mm-hmm.
I eat mainly vegan.
It's always the cheese. I miss cheese. I won't lie. If I could have cheese without a cow getting hurt, I would eat cheese again, but I just can't do
I know. I mean, my son is he's pretty hardcore about being vegan, so we tend to, like, if we have eggs, they come from the chickens that, live on my mum's place, and so we try and know where everything comes from. And that's sort of my theory is always, I don't necessarily judge people for eating meat. I judge them for the hypocrisy of, I couldn't kill an animal. Well, if you can't kill it, you shouldn't eat it. If you're happy to kill it and be part of that process, then that's your choice, and it's a conscious choice. If you're just gonna,
and it's a small percentage of the population that has that lack of compassion that can be a hunter. I think they say it's 20%. They said if the world had to go back to hunting, only 20% of the population would hunt. We'd all be vegetarian for the most part, right?
Well, exactly.
Oh, you're right.
I mean, and it is hard in New Zealand. In the UK, being vegan was very easy. So much. New Zealand is a farming nation. It gets tricky. It's very expensive. But then again, dairy and the price of dairy and everything's gone through the roof, so it's not that hard these days.
Wow, interesting. I never would have thought that about New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand has a delightful reputation of clean green until you actually look at our rivers and realize that it's under the monopoly of Fonterra, the cow milking company. I mean, it's our economy is based on dairy farming, so.
And sheep too.
Yeah,
lots
of sheep. And it's not I know farmers. I grew up on farms, and I have respect for the people. They genuinely care about their animals, but I still it doesn't sit right with me. It's not that they're bad people. It's just that I don't know how people can do it. I couldn't.
I know. Some people they view creatures as commodity versus companion. I understand, but that's fair enough.
I mean, it's just strange to me, but I mean, I know that to a lot of, you go to rural New Zealand and try and find something vegan, and they're like, what the fuck is that? How are you alive?
Yeah, I found that in some places of the world too. It's harder to be vegan. It was very difficult in Russia.
I was about to say, have you seen Everything is Illuminated? It's got Eugene Hertz from Gogo Bordello play, and it's Johann Safran Foer book, and it's got a scene with Elijah Wood, and they're in rural Ukraine, and he asks for a vegetarian meal, and they bring him a boiled potato.
That's pretty much it. That's how it felt in Russia. I was like, I'm vegan, I only eat plants, so they'd bring me out a potato, rice, bread, which I gained 10 pounds by the end of the tour, and then sometimes vegetables. Like, I swear, people in Russia, they don't eat fruit. It was just it was tough. Sometimes I'd be lucky and we'd go to a sushi place, and I'd be able to have like my avocado and a kiwi drink and all that. But it was just, oh man, it was a whole month of, okay, can I eat today?
Definitely. Oh, cool.
Yeah.
So Danny was saying that you guys might be coming down to New Zealand next year. Mid next year.
That was the goal.
Yeah.
When we did Australia in 2013, we saw how easy it is to get to New Zealand. So we were like, you know what? The next time we go to Australia, we have to come to New Zealand, and we have to go there now. Now you have our T-shirt in the museum there.
Exactly.
That's people have been trying to defile. So we should go and give it the thumbs up on Instagram.
Yeah, exactly.
And take a photo in front of it. But I'd love to go to New Zealand, especially I've heard about the tribes there and the culture, and it's just be something interesting. But I really want to go there for the fans. Absolutely. I mean, we had such a warm, amazing welcome from Australia when we did. We were only there for a week after we did our Asian tour. But I think I spent a week in Brisbane, and I have some of my most fond memories in Australia. It's such a beautiful place. So I really want to go and see New Zealand as well. So we're trying. Fingers crossed.
Yeah, definitely. Well, that T-shirt is amazing. It's banned. Like, I remember getting kicked out of bar, like our local pub, because a friend was wearing that T-shirt. You know, it's
people get kicked out of the
a
bar.
bar that we went to every night, and he was wearing the T-shirt, and they banned us. It was like, oh, okay. Well,
like you can never come to this bar again.
Gosh. It's just, yeah. I mean, and as I was saying to Danny, actually, it's funny because the place it's banned is a place called Christchurch. This is the city that elected as a city council representative a neo-Nazi, the head of the National Front. People can walk down the street in fucking swastika and white pride T-shirts, but the Cradle of Filth T-shirt gets banned.
That's unbelievable because especially in Canada, there's so much freedom of speech and equality, and you can wear the Jesus is the country. You can pretty much do whatever you want in Canada. I mean, I have a Choose Satan shirt. I'm not a Satanist, but it's from a local band called Eclipse Eternal. Sadly, they broke up. They're a great black metal band, and it says Choose Satan with a pentagram, and I can wear it anywhere in Canada. Nobody's gonna get that mad at me. Well, obviously, you couldn't really wear. You could wear swastikas, but you might get in a bit of trouble.
I hope so.
Yeah, anything that promotes hate is not very welcome in Canada. But it's you know, and then you go to some places and you just can't. Like I wore the Choose Satan shirt in South America, and we were in Argentina, and our tour manager's like, you should probably turn that inside out. It's a huge Christian populace here, and I'm like, oh, you know. And then when I had to go to I won't say where in Asia, but I had to go somewhere in Asia just because of my gender. I had to wrap my face, and I was actually really upset. Coming from Canada, I was like, so I'm a second-rate citizen here, and I'm not allowed to show my face because of my gender. And he said, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to protect you. And I was just absolutely pissed off. I was like, I would never be treated like this in Canada. So, yeah, touring and seeing the world changes you.
Definitely. So, yeah, because you're going to be touring essentially non-stop for the next year, it looks like. So, it's, how do you sort of, I mean, do you devote, like, is your main income from Cradle of Filth now, or your own work and stuff?
I'd say it's about 75% Cradle Filth, and the other 25% comes from my own work with Schoolcraft, my solo project. So I am a full-time musician, and a lot of my musician friends are very jealous because, bless them, they still have to work these part-time jobs, and my heart goes out to them. My last part-time job was just before Christmas, which I might go back to this year, depending if I have time. I'm a hardworking person, and I always want to keep doing things and keep busy. So I'm very lucky, and it is my full-time job, and there's going to be so much touring going on. So that's my main focus. I know me and Danny, next time we see each other, we'll be discussing stage costumes and visuals, and Cradle Filth has pretty much consumed my life since I joined the band 2.5 years ago. I had plans to do a solo album, and I've put it off for 2.5 years. I've released singles. I try to release a single every 6 months to show people, hey, I'm still a solo artist. I still write because I love writing my own music. I go crazy with my own ideas in my own head. It's tough. But eventually I do want to complete that full album. But I'm glad I waited so long because I've gotten to a point with discussion with my local band and my producer that it's like, I know exactly what my sound is going to be, and I know exactly what my album's going to sound like now. Where before I would have kind of been persuaded by outside people, but now it's like, no, I know exactly like I have the vision and the sound in my head. now that I know what I want, I can go forth with it. So yeah, music is essentially my whole life, and Cradle of Filth is my adopted child, and my solo project is my baby.
That's awesome.
So.
I mean, yeah, it's not, it's incredible that you get to make music your life, but it's not luck. I mean, you've clearly worked really hard on this, and you know, looking at your background, you've been working on music since you were 7, I saw it. So, you know, it's pretty impressive, and it's always great to see strong women succeed in this industry because it's pretty rough, you know.
Oh no, thank you. I that means a lot. Thank you. And that's the thing I always I'm proud to be part of Cradle of Filth because there's always been that opening in Cradle of Filth for a woman. There's been that opening. If I was born male, I would not be in Cradle of Filth. Well, who knows? It might have been the basis, but we can't tell Daniel first that because he'll be very offended. You know, and the fact that because of my gender, I was able to get that gig, I'm very proud of it. And I've worked very hard my whole life. Like music is my entire existence. If I didn't have music, I could not see myself working the 9 to 5 or doing anything else. So I'm lucky for that. I did work hard, but it's always as motivational speakers would say, you create your own luck. The harder you work, the more you put yourself out there, and you know who you are and what you want and what you can do and what you can't do will define kind of where you travel to.
Definitely. Well, that's an excellent note to end this on, but thank you so much. It's been lovely talking to you. I sort of, you know, you get ready, you get a bit carried away, but then I realize it's been half an hour already. So,
we could probably talk for like another 2 hours. I bet.
So I'm gonna, you know, my editor will be like, Tove, I'm not putting 2 hours on, but you know. So yeah, thank you so much, and we hope to see you down here soon.
I hope so too. I look forward to meeting you, and thank you for the interview. It's been great.
Okay, have a great night.
Okay.
Get some rest now.
You too. Take care. Have a good day.
Okay.
All right. Bye now.